She didn't just leave. She chose someone else. And in that moment, it felt like a part of you died. There's no dressing it up, no playing tough, no pretending you're unfazed when the ground under your feet has been ripped away. Losing someone you love doesn't just hurt, it shatters the very identity you built around that connection. It isn't just heartbreak, it's the death of a future you once believed in. It's staring into the wreckage of dreams you thought were mutual and realizing you were the only one still standing there. That kind of loss hits deeper than most people are willing to admit. And if you're not careful, it doesn't just break your heart, it breaks your spirit, your self-respect, your fire. But here's the brutal, beautiful truth. This pain can be the forge that remakes you into something stronger than you have ever been. Not if you run, not if you numb it away, not if you spend months hoping she will see your worth again. Only if you stand in the fire, refuse to fall apart, and start the process of building yourself from the ashes. That's what this is about. Not about her, not about him, about you. About how you take back what was always yours, your power, your dignity, your future. In this video, we are not going to sugarcoat anything. You are going to face the raw reality of what just happened. You are going to see why your mind feels like it's spiraling out of control. You will understand why this pain feels so catastrophic. And more importantly, how to use it as fuel to rebuild a version of yourself no betrayal can ever touch again. The principles that follow are not theoretical. They are brutal, practical. They demand action, not tears. They demand responsibility, not blame. They demand that you step into the role you were meant to play long before she decided to leave. You are not here to be pitied. You are here to be forged. Before we dive in, take a second to act like a man who still owns his choices. Subscribe to Victory Stoic right now if you are serious about not wasting another day sleepwalking through your own life. Like this video to signal to yourself that today is the day you stop bleeding and start building. Share it with a brother who needs the truth more than he needs another empty distraction. And in the comments, mark your commitment. Type pain, forged power. Or, if you have the guts, share your own story of loss and what you are doing about it. We are not here to cry together. We are here to rise together. Now let's get to work. Your future self is waiting, and he doesn't have time for excuses. Number 1. The first shock. Betrayal hits like a fist to the chest. It doesn't start with anger. It doesn't start with clarity. It starts with a physical blow to the soul so violent you feel like you might actually die. She chose another man, and in that moment, it's not just your heart that shatters, it's your whole nervous system that goes to war against you. Your chest tightens, your stomach drops, your hands shake, sleep becomes impossible. Food tastes like sand. You are not imagining it. You are not being weak. Your body is reacting exactly the way it would if you were physically attacked. Modern neuroscience confirms what the Stoics intuited 2,000 years ago. Studies from Columbia University show that social rejection and betrayal activate the exact same brain regions associated with physical pain, particularly the anterior cingulate cortex and the insula. To your brain, being replaced is no different than being punched in the gut or stabbed in the side. It is an injury, and it bleeds invisibly, relentlessly. The rush of cortisol floods your bloodstream. Your adrenaline spikes, preparing you for a fight that will never come. Your logical mind watches helplessly while your primal self screams inside your ribcage. Seneca warned of this phenomenon long before science put it under a microscope. He wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." But here's the brutal irony. When betrayal hits, it's not just imagination. It is reality. The pain is not theoretical. It is chemical. It is cellular. You are drowning in your own biology, and every well-meaning, "just get over it" comment from the outside world sounds like mockery, hurled at a man already bleeding out. Take the example of Daniel, a 41-year-old contractor from Indiana. He worked hard, provided for his wife, took pride in being a good man. One night, she sat across from him at their kitchen table, calmly explaining that she had fallen in love with someone else. Daniel said later, he didn't even hear half the words. All he felt was his heart trying to beat its way out of his chest. He drove around for hours, not trusting himself to go home, not trusting himself to speak to anyone. For weeks afterward, he lived inside a fog of nausea and rage so thick he barely recognized his own reflection. His friends told him to get over it, but his body refused. His body was telling him the truth. A real injury had occurred. The first rule of surviving this shock is simple but savage. Do not deny it. Acknowledge that you are wounded. Do not gaslight yourself with nonsense about staying strong in the sense of suppressing it. Strength is not numbness. Strength is seeing the blade, feeling the blood, and refusing to bleed out where you stand. Pretending you are fine only feeds the internal chaos. Facing the pain head-on, understanding its roots, is the first move toward reclaiming your mind. A practical tip for right now: write it down. Not on a phone, not in a text to her, but by hand, on real paper. Write exactly what you feel without editing. Rage, grief, confusion, humiliation, spill it out. By putting words to the storm inside, you begin the process of regaining command over it. Clinical psychologists call this expressive writing, and research from the University of Texas shows it measurably reduces the intensity of trauma responses over time. Your first weapon is not your fists, it is your pen. Second, create a ritual to anchor yourself when the cortisol spikes. When the surge comes, and it will, stand up immediately. Move. Pace. Walk outside barefoot if you have to. Reconnect your mind to your body. Physiological responses cannot always be reasoned with in the heat of the moment, but they can be redirected. Navy SEALs train under fire by drilling automatic actions to override panic. You will do the same. Anchor action kills panic. Stillness feeds it. Third, set one non-negotiable standard starting today. No self-destruction. No drunk calls. No bitter social media posts. No flinging yourself into meaningless distractions that you'll regret in the cold light of morning. Your heart is broken? Fine, let it break, but do not let it rot. Stoic strength does not mean you don't feel the pain. It means you refuse to let the pain turn you into something weaker than you were before. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Right now, your agony is not the enemy. It is the way forward, brutal and bloody though it may be. The first shock tried to crush you. Your task is to survive it with your soul intact, battered but unbroken, sobbing maybe, bleeding definitely, but still here, still breathing, still capable of standing up tomorrow and building something out of the wreckage. The betrayal hit you like a fist. Let it. Feel the ribs crack if you have to. But when the dawn comes, and it will, you will already have done what most never dare. Face the deepest human pain without flinching, without fleeing, without folding. You will not be the same man. You will be something harder, something wiser, something that no woman, no betrayal, no twist of fate can ever destroy again. Begin now. Anchor yourself. Write it down. Move your body. Command your mind. Stand in the fire without begging for mercy. This is the work. This is the price. This is the path. Number 2, denying instinct. It can't be true, there must be a mistake. The second the news hits, the second she tells you, or you find out, or you simply feel it in the pit of your stomach, you don't fully believe it. You tell yourself there must be some misunderstanding, some error in perception, some missing piece that will put everything back together if you can just find it. This denial is not logical. It is primal. It is your brain, desperate to avoid a pain so massive it threatens the foundation of your identity. Psychologists call it the defense mechanism of denial, and it's as old as the first human heartbreak. The human mind will do anything to avoid direct confrontation with devastation. In the first moments, you become a detective, a philosopher, a lawyer, grasping for theories, arguments, timelines that could somehow explain away the unbearable truth. Maybe she was confused. Maybe it was just emotional, not physical. Maybe she still loves me deep down. These are the lies we whisper to ourselves to delay the inevitable collision with reality. It is not weakness, it is biology. Research from the University of Michigan shows that when faced with overwhelming emotional pain, the brain's prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for rational thought, temporarily weakens, while more primitive survival mechanisms take over. Denial buys you time. It creates a buffer between you and annihilation. But if you stay there too long, that buffer becomes a coffin. The longer you deny the truth, the harder it becomes to crawl back to sanity. Seneca, the Roman Stoic, warned of this self-delusion when he wrote, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself. Denial, in its purest form, is the refusal to face adversity. It is the hope that reality can be negotiated with if you plead hard enough. It cannot. The universe doesn't negotiate. It doesn't care about how much you loved her, how many sacrifices you made, or how many promises you believed. Reality moves on with or without your consent. Consider the case of Evan, a 35-year-old software engineer from North Carolina. His girlfriend of 4 years left him suddenly, claiming she needed space. Classic code for emotional or physical distance already taken with someone else. Evan refused to believe it. For weeks, he clung to hope. He sent texts, he wrote long emails pouring out his feelings. He rationalized every unanswered message as her being confused or too overwhelmed to respond. He told his friends he was giving her time to realize what they had. Meanwhile, she had already moved cities with the new man. Evan wasn't holding space for love. He was holding space for his own destruction. By the time reality finally cracked through, Evan wasn't just dealing with heartbreak. He was dealing with compounded shame, humiliation, wasted weeks of life that he could never get back. His healing was delayed not by her betrayal, but by his own refusal to look at the truth straight on. You must be more ruthless with yourself than you have ever been. The moment you catch yourself inventing excuses for her behavior, stop. Interrupt the thought. Replace it with a cold declaration. She chose. She left. It is done. Say it out loud if you have to. Feel the bitterness of the words on your tongue. This is not pessimism. It is liberation. Until you stop negotiating with fantasy, you are a prisoner, shackled by your own mind. Here's a brutally practical tip. Whenever your mind starts spinning into maybe territory, maybe she still loves me, maybe she'll come back, maybe it's not what it seems, immediately write down 3 undeniable facts. Example: 1. She said she wants someone else. 2. She chose to leave. 3. She has not fought to stay. Facts are the antidote to fantasy. Facts are your first weapons in the war against your own weakness. Second, create a visible symbol of finality. It can be as simple as deleting old text threads, burning a letter you wrote but never sent, throwing away something that was a symbol of the relationship. Ritual matters. Ritual draws a hard line in the sand between the lie and the truth. Humans have always used ritual to mark death, and the death of a relationship deserves the same clarity. Marcus Aurelius said, "Objective judgment, now, at this very moment. Unselfish action, now, at this very moment. Willing acceptance, now at this very moment of all external events." There is no later. There is no delay. There is only now. Accept what happened. Judge it objectively. Act in line with reality, not with hope, not with nostalgia, with reality. Every second you spend arguing with what is, you bleed strength into what never was. Every day you refuse to let go, you lose ground. You will have to fight twice as hard to reclaim later. Your denial does not save her. It does not save the relationship. It only delays your own salvation. Rip the bandage off. Swallow the acid. Take the hit fully in the chest without flinching. Face the wreckage with open eyes and a clenched jaw. Refuse to build altars to what could have been. Only then can you begin to build something real from what is left. The fantasy must die so that you can live. Deny it no longer. Accept. Stand up. Move. Number 3. Emotional paralysis. When everything turns empty and colorless. After the denial breaks, after the fantasy shatters under the weight of reality, something worse creeps in. Nothingness. Not rage, not sadness, not even pain you can name. Just a vast, blank wasteland where all the colors of life have been drained away. It feels like someone turned down the volume of the entire world. Food doesn't taste right. Music doesn't sound right. Conversations feel like background noise in a movie you're no longer starring in. You move through your life like a ghost, dragging chains across a battlefield that no one else can see. This stage is not dramatic. It's not explosive. It's insidious. Emotional paralysis is often misunderstood, even by those living through it. On the outside, you might seem fine, even calm. Inside, you are standing in the wreckage of yourself, too numb to even cry. Psychologists studying trauma call this the shutdown response, part of the body's ancient defense mechanism. When the brain perceives a wound too massive to process safely, it initiates a kind of emotional anesthesia. It pulls the plug on feeling itself, like a circuit breaker snapping to prevent the system from burning down completely. Survival first. feeling later. This isn't weakness, it's biology. Your mind is trying to protect you from total collapse by putting you into hibernation. But survival is not the same as living, and if you linger too long in this frozen state, it slowly devours your will to fight, to grow, to come back. The ancients understood this in ways we sometimes forget. In Greek mythology, there was a river called Lethe, the river of forgetfulness. Souls destined for reincarnation would drink from Lethe to erase the pain and memory of their past lives. But some souls drank too deeply. They forgot not only the pain, but also the fire that once drove them. They drifted, empty and aimless, losing the very core of what had once made them alive. When you are paralyzed by loss, you are standing knee-deep in your own Lethe. Every day you spend there, every day you move through life without hunger, without anger, without laughter, you lose small pieces of your former self. And if you stay too long, you don't just forget the woman you lost, you begin to forget the man you were before you met her. Chris, a 37-year-old firefighter from Arizona, lived this. After a brutal divorce where his wife left him for a coworker, he didn't rage or lash out. He just stopped. He worked his shifts, went home, ate frozen dinners, stared at the walls. Friends stopped calling because he gave them nothing back. Hobbies gathered dust. Even anger was too much effort. It was like being dead without being buried, he later said. And the worst part? Nobody noticed. The world moved on, and he faded into the background noise of life. His comeback didn't start until the day he realized he couldn't remember the last time he had genuinely laughed. If you recognize yourself in this, you must act urgently but carefully. Emotional paralysis will not fix itself. It demands intervention, even if that intervention feels fake, forced, mechanical at first. Here's the battle plan. First, force action before feeling returns. Movement generates life. Do not wait for motivation. It will not come. Schedule small, non-negotiable tasks each day. A 20-minute walk outside, one chapter of a book read, one conversation initiated, no matter how shallow. Routine becomes your lifeline across the wasteland. Second, use deliberate discomfort to crack the ice inside you. Engage in cold exposure therapy, cold showers, icy walks in winter mornings. Push your body into sensations it cannot ignore. Shock yourself back into noticing the world. The body remembers pain more vividly than the mind remembers sadness, and sometimes you need to feel something real to reawaken the parts of you that went silent. Third, anchor yourself with symbols of life, not loss. Surround yourself with reminders of vitality. Plants you must water, music that demands emotion, books that stretch your mind. You are not trying to pretend you are fine. You are rebuilding the bridge between existing and living. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, a blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it. Right now, you feel like ash. You feel cold and used up. But inside the ash, the coals still burn. You must feed that fire, not with nostalgia for what is lost, but with raw reality, breath, pain, effort, motion. The Stoics understood that emotions, left alone, rot. They cannot be ignored, but they cannot be trusted to heal themselves either. You must meet them with action, structure, courage, even when you feel nothing. Especially when you feel nothing. One small tip: begin a daily ritual of 3 sensory anchors. Each morning, pick 3 things you must experience fully. Touch the bark of a tree and notice its roughness. Listen to the full song of birds outside your window without multitasking. Drink a glass of cold water and really taste it. Small, simple, but ruthless acts of awareness drag your soul back into your body. They remind you that you are still here, still breathing, still capable of feeling, even if the feelings aren't what you hoped they would be. Emotional paralysis is not the end unless you decide it is. It is the dark, silent cocoon before the rebirth you didn't ask for but now desperately need. Every man who ever stood tall again after heartbreak first had to crawl through this silent, colorless desert. There is no shortcut. Only the steps you take, even when your legs feel broken. Walk anyway. Breathe anyway. Live anyway. Crawl until you can stand. Stand until you can walk. Walk until you can run. One color at a time will return. One breath at a time will grow full again. And one day, without knowing exactly when it happened, you will realize you are no longer dead. You are alive and unbreakable. Number 4, the silent shame. Was I not good enough? The betrayal cuts you, but it's the shame that poisons you from the inside. Long after the shock fades, Long after the anger burns itself into ash, a deeper, colder question begins to whisper at the edge of your mind. Was I not enough? It doesn't shout. It doesn't scream. It slithers in during the silence. When you wake up alone, when you see couples laughing in public, when you stare at yourself in the mirror longer than you should. It asks not why she left, but why she would ever choose to leave someone like you. It is this shame, far more than the loss itself, that threatens to corrode your spirit if you allow it to go unchecked. There is a reason shame feels so heavy. Evolutionarily, humans are wired to fear social rejection, because in the ancient world, being cast out of the tribe often meant death. Your mind treats personal rejection, especially in love, not just as an emotional injury, but as an existential threat. The amygdala fires off alarms. Cortisol surges. Your entire system prepares for annihilation. But unlike physical wounds, shame doesn't scream. It seeps, slowly, quietly. It rewrites your self-concept without your permission. Modern psychology confirms this danger. Studies from the University of California show that unresolved personal shame is directly correlated with depression, substance abuse, and self-destructive behaviors. It's not the event, the breakup, that ruins most men. It's the internalization of that event into a permanent scar. There must be something wrong with me. The Stoics saw this trap coming centuries ago. Epictetus warned, it is not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them. She leaving you is a fact. What you tell yourself about that fact is what will either rebuild you or destroy you. The lie that you were not enough, that somehow your worth hinged on her staying, is the cancer you must cut out without mercy. Consider the story of Adam, a 40-year-old entrepreneur from Texas. His wife of 7 years left him for a man younger, louder, flashier. Adam was blindsided. At first, he processed the loss like any man would: shock, rage, grief. But months later, after the dust should have settled, Adam was still stuck. He wasn't chasing her. He wasn't texting. He wasn't drinking himself into oblivion. He was simply hollow, quietly convinced that he had been weighed, measured, and found wanting. Business meetings that once energized him now felt like stages where everyone could see the cracks. He pulled back from friendships. He stopped trying in the gym. Not because he didn't care, but because deep down, he believed he didn't deserve to care anymore. He was failing, not from the outside, but from the slow, relentless infection of shame within. Adam didn't break free until a friend gave him a brutal, brilliant metaphor. He said, imagine you built a house. You spent years on it. Then one day someone moves in, smashes the windows, punches holes in the walls, burns the kitchen, and leaves. Would you look at the wreckage and say, I guess I was never good at building houses? Or would you say, the wrong person entered and destroyed something they didn't value? That hit Adam like a hammer. His worth wasn't erased because someone failed to appreciate it. His craft, his effort, his character were still real. Still standing, even amid the wreckage. You must see the same truth. Her leaving says something about her choices, her values, her path. It says nothing about your inherent worth as a man unless you allow it to. The most dangerous lie you can swallow is that your value is determined by another person's acceptance. That is slavery. And the Stoic warrior was born to be free. Here's the practical defense plan. First, dismantle the false narrative. Write down every self-accusation running through your head. I wasn't attractive enough. I wasn't exciting enough. I wasn't rich enough. Write them without censoring. Then, next to each one, write the question, according to whom? Whose standard are you measuring yourself by? Someone who walked away? Someone who couldn't see what you offered? Why is their perception now the gospel truth about your life? Second, create what I call a fortress of proof. Gather objective evidence of your strengths, not fantasies, not bravado, real proofs, promotions you earned, skills you mastered, times you showed loyalty, resilience, courage. Stack these proofs daily. Review them when the shame begins to whisper. Build a wall of reality that fantasy cannot penetrate. Third, engage in acts that reaffirm your self-respect, even when you don't feel it. Go to the gym when you feel small. Study when you feel stupid. Help others when you feel invisible. Action precedes emotion. You don't wait to feel worthy. You act like a man of worth until the truth can no longer be denied even by the broken voice in your head. Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. She is an outside event. Her choice is an outside event. Your mind, what you tell yourself about who you are, is the only thing truly under your control. Master it, or be mastered by the ghost of her absence forever. The moment you say, maybe I wasn't enough, recognize the trap being laid. Shame offers you false comfort. If it was your fault, then you can fix it and guarantee it never happens again. But reality is harsher, cleaner. People leave. Not always for reasons you can control. Not always for reasons that make sense. Not because you were not enough, but because their path diverged, and sometimes their vision is too small to see your true worth. Your task is not to make yourself acceptable to those who walk away. Your task is to become so rooted in your own worth that no betrayal can make you question it again. She chose another man. Fine. That says everything about her journey and nothing about your destination. Lift your head. Burn the shame. Rebuild your self-respect with your own hands, not through someone else's approval. You were enough before she came. You are enough now that she's gone, and you will be more than enough for the life you are about to build without her. Number 5. The silent rage. Anger at her, at yourself, at the world. At first you think you're over it. You've cried what you thought were your last tears. You've told yourself, it is what it is. You might even be fooling the people around you, laughing at jokes, showing up to work, going through the motions. But under the thin shell of normalcy, something darker simmers. A heavy, slow-burning rage, silent but alive, pulsing just beneath your skin like a second heartbeat. You're not punching walls, you're not screaming in the streets. But you are angry, and it's a dangerous anger, the kind that, if left untamed, will rot you from the inside out. It's not just anger at her, although that's certainly part of it. How could she betray you? How could she throw away everything you built? Everything you fought for? How could she replace you so easily, like switching out a pair of worn-out boots for something shinier? That anger is raw, primal, hot. But then comes the anger at yourself, the kind that cuts even deeper. You start asking, how could I not see it coming? How could I let my guard down? How could I be so weak? You blame yourself for trusting, for loving, for believing, and when that festers long enough, it doesn't stay contained. It expands outward into the world. You find yourself snapping at strangers in traffic. You find yourself muttering curses under your breath at headlines, at happy couples passing you on the sidewalk, at the universe itself for letting it happen. This is the critical moment. This is the thin, ragged line between survival and self-destruction. Many men, standing where you are standing right now, chose wrong. They reached for the bottle. They vanished into cheap distractions. They lashed out in blind fury, burning bridges, wrecking careers, alienating friends, sinking deeper into a pit they dug with their own hands. Anger, if you don't master it, will make you its puppet. It will convince you that hurting yourself is the only way to make the hurt stop. And no, this isn't about being macho and pretending you're too tough to feel rage. Stoicism doesn't tell you to deny anger. It tells you to command it. Marcus Aurelius himself said, how much more grievous are the consequences of anger than the causes of it. The event, her leaving, her betrayal, is over. What remains now is how you choose to respond to the volcano inside you. Uncontrolled, it consumes. Channeled, it transforms. Let's be clear, you have every right to be angry. You are not wrong for feeling it. Betrayal is an injustice, and the male soul wired for honor and loyalty recoils violently when betrayed. Anger is natural, but rage unmanaged is like giving a child a loaded gun. It will destroy indiscriminately, not just her memory, but yourself, your future, your dignity. Take the story of Mike, a 39-year-old ex-cop from Chicago. When his fiancée left him for a coworker, he spiraled hard. He drowned his anger in whiskey and bar fights. He lost his job after a drunken assault charge. Friends stopped calling, family stopped trusting him. His life, once stable and respected, collapsed into a punchline. Years later, sober and rebuilding from scratch, Mike said something that should be carved into every broken man's mind. I thought hurting myself would make her absence hurt less. I was wrong. I just gave her more to walk away from. You don't have to follow that road. You can feel the anger without becoming its slave. You can master the fire without letting it burn down everything you still have left to build. Here's how you begin. First, recognize and name the anger every day. Don't suppress it. Don't rationalize it, and don't let it shapeshift into bitterness without you noticing. Sit down at the end of each day for 5 minutes and write, "Today, I am angry about." Name it like an enemy you intend to defeat. Vague rage is unkillable. Identified rage is manageable. Second, move the anger physically before it moves you mentally. High-intensity workouts, heavy lifting, sprint intervals, martial arts training, anything that forces your body to exhaust the chemical fuel of rage safely. Anger trapped inside an idle body mutates into depression. Anger expelled through controlled physical exertion refuels confidence and control. Third, reframe the betrayal as fuel, not infection. Use the old wound as a sharpening stone. Every time the anger flares up, treat it as a trigger to level up your life. Feel the burn in your chest? Good. That's your new reminder to lift heavier, to run harder, to build faster. Don't waste it screaming into the void. Channel it building the kind of man who would make the old version of yourself look like a footnote. There's a brutal freedom hidden here if you're willing to grab it. Once you realize you survived the worst she could do. No ordinary insult, no daily frustration, no minor loss can shatter you the same way again. You have been to hell already. Now you get to decide if you stay or climb out carrying the fire. A small tip to weaponize the anger in a healthy way: create a rage ritual that burns it productively. Choose a brutal workout you only do when you're angry. For example, every time the bitterness rises, you drop into 50 push-ups, or sprint a brutal hill nearby, or shadow box until your arms go numb. Turn the fire into fuel systematically until the very thing that was meant to kill your spirit becomes the engine that powers it. As Epictetus taught, it is not what happens to you but how you react to it that matters. Anger is happening, fine. But what comes next? Destruction or resurrection? That is your choice, and yours alone. You have a right to be furious. You do not have a right to be stupid. Let her betrayal forge a weapon in your heart, not a wound. Let your anger refine you into a man who cannot be broken by treachery again. Not because you are numb, not because you are vengeful, but because you have chosen mastery over chaos, power over collapse, fire over ash. This is your forge. This is your fight. Bleed it out. Burn it up. Build what cannot be broken. Conclusion: you didn't ask for this war. You didn't volunteer to have your chest ripped open, your pride crushed, your future rewritten without your consent. But here you are, standing in the wreckage, fists clenched, heart bruised but still beating. And here's the truth they never tell you in the songs or the movies. Survival isn't cinematic. It's not loud. It's not glorious. It's slow, painful, humiliating at times. It's waking up at 3 a.m., staring at the ceiling, wondering how a heart can hurt this much without actually killing you. It's dragging yourself out of bed when everything in you wants to disappear. It's doing push-ups with tears in your eyes, finishing a work day when your soul is somewhere else, eating clean, training harder, pushing forward, not because you feel like it, but because you owe it to the man you swore you would become. You have learned, in these few hard truths we've explored, that betrayal doesn't just test your strength, it tests your identity. It shows you whether you are building yourself on something solid or something that could be stolen by the choices of another. But we are not done. No, not even close. What we've covered so far barely scratches the surface of the path you must walk. This was part 1, just the opening rounds. The blood has barely dried. In part 2, we will go deeper, harder, sharper. We will uncover the brutal strategies, the psychological weapons, and the stoic tactics you must master if you are serious about not just surviving this, but using it as the launching pad for a life so dominant, so unshakable, so full of raw command that betrayal will look like a trivial wound in your rearview mirror. Until then, take action. Right now. Subscribe to Victory Stoic because you are not the kind of man who stumbles onto truth and then slinks away. Like this video if you're ready to stand up even with bloody knees. Share it with a brother who needs to stop crying into his beer and start rebuilding his empire. And most importantly, drop a comment. Mark your place in the fight. Type, "Built from ashes." Or better yet, tell your story. Raw, real, without apology. We are not here for perfection. We are here for progress. Thank you for having the courage to sit through the pain, to face the ugliness, to refuse the easy lies. Thank you for listening, not just with your ears, but with your soul that knows what must be done. Part 2 is coming. Sharper, heavier, more ruthless. Be ready. No mercy, no retreat, full power, always. Victory is not given, it is forged, and you, brother, are just getting started.